This week on the JT and Big O podcast, we speak about WrestleMania 36. Night 1 is in the books. Now, was it any good? Additionally, while we've been stuck at home, me and Ryan have been watching some different sci-fi stuff, maybe some stuff that you too would like to see. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another episode of the JT and Big O podcast. I am one of your hosts, JT McGuire, also known as Video Geek JT, and joined with me, as always, is Ryan Big O'Regan.
I see you went a little shorter today. I'm not being, begrudging about it, but, obviously, you got to record it at some point. I know you have the board. I know you could just press a button, and you could probably just get, do some big fanfare. I want you to do it with the button.
I feel that'd be a cheat, though, to do it with the button. I have to do it. But right now, we're all...
Hear me out. I want full audio fanfare. I want that O going off. I want a little background music added to it. We can have some canned applause and everything to it. I want that O to have as much funding as WrestleMania did. All right? I want that kind of level for 3 seconds.
And I want a toilet made out of solid gold, but we always don't get what we want.
I mean, you could spray paint it gold. I mean, that's something.
Well,
I'm just saying, little options. Home Depot's still open, so you can go.
At that point, why don't we get someone to do it for us? Which I wouldn't be opposed to if we have a good narrator out there who wants to do a taped intro for us. Just throwing it out there.
What's Michael Buffer doing right now? Obviously nothing. We could probably just go ahead, shoot him a tweet, see if he just wants to do a little cameo record, and we pay $25 for something that's going to last us entirety.
You think Michael Buffer will do it for $25?
I'd say a lot of people could do things for $25 right now. So if not Michael Buffer, maybe his brother, the one that does UFC. I don't know.
I didn't even know he had a brother. I know Michael Buffer was always the most expensive one out there, and that's the only reason WCW had him. We can.
Well, no, that's the thing. Michael Buffer does boxing, but his brother does the UFC matches. So whereas obviously Michael Buffer has this thing. It's let's get ready to rumble,
which it's copyrighted too. I heard no one else can use that, or he'll sue you for it. That's what I heard.
He ain't gonna watch this. He isn't gonna know. But I gotta
start fact checking myself because I keep saying things that are not true.
His brother, the only thing he really has is it's time. That's it. That's his thing. So I'd rather go with Michael. Obviously, you get a little bit more of a showmanship with Michael.
Well, I thought Michael did that too. He used to say that, it's time for the main event.
Well, that's a whole phrase. The other brother just goes, it's time, He might as well be Vader saying that, I'm it's a nothing thing.
I don't know. Yeah, it is. I don't know why I don't know. Anyway.
It's the voice, man. It's just the voice, the way, the pitch and the tone, It's, you want to know, I do the voice. No. What do you know of audio? No.
I know nothing of audio. Nothing whatsoever.
Except when things crackle.
Yeah, it's doing this this way. It's in some ways it's kind of fun because we just kind of sit down at our tables and chairs in our homes and we just record this, and then I can edit it and put it up. But
what table? I'm using 2 tripods and a mouse stand. So.
Yes, you are. Ladies and gentlemen, I was watching him set this up as he was doing it. I'm like, ooh, that's kind of dangerous. At the same time, I was also the one who asked him to do it.
Yes. It's dangerous, but keep going.
No, keep going. You're not injured yet.
It's that bridge looks a little rickety. Why don't you cross it first?
That is my entire career. We shouldn't be doing this way. Anyway.
On we go. But yes, there is some advantages to obviously this kind of setup, regardless of whether or not I have the furniture for it. And of course, again, thank you to the people at Zoom for being able to be the institution in which everyone is talking nowadays.
Yes,
Thank you
even
so
if you
much.
have a lot of problems with your privacy laws, thank you very much.
More so with iPhones. I will note the report was pretty much more with iPhones, so I don't have an iPhone, so I don't care.
I think there were a few other issues, but at this point, I forget what they were. I think in my personal opinion is I share so much online anyway. It's like what secrets do I really have anymore?
True.
Like what we're talking about right now. I'm literally going to cut and put everything online later. It's like there are no
Yeah, it's not
secrets
like
here.
we're live, so it doesn't really matter. I mean, whatever we say is just going to be cut out. Even this part is probably going to be cut out unless you want to go ahead and leave it in and make it funny for people.
Yeah, I'm
But
probably going to do that.
yeah, I'm sure you will. Because that's the amount of production value that we have, and just cut out, cut, paste. At least I can say we're probably on par with WrestleMania at this point. I
Yes,
hate to
yes.
say it, but
I know
you coming from a film background, me coming from a film background. Last night was just ooh.
I know you were using that to segue into our topic, but I do want to talk about one other thing last night. Conan O'Brien is still actually all the talk show people are still talking about are taping right now, and I'm watching Conan O'Brien interview Adam Sandler from their houses, and you're talking about how these setups don't look good. It's like, oh my god, that looked awful. Like Adam Sandler's is just a web camera all the way at like the top of his room, and he's got this ugly background to his office. And
Yeah, it is.
like, then again, he's also got a porn star mustache right now, so I don't think he cares about his appearance whatsoever at the moment.
No, he's riding off that Netflix money. He don't give a damn.
He's got the Netflix money. Maybe clean up your office a little bit. Anyway,
ooh, shots at the Sandman. Ooh,
yeah, I don't think my career is going to go in that direction. It's going to hurt me. Maybe you shouldn't be associated with me. Anyway, so now
Thanks,
that I ruined
partner.
that, now that I ruined that segue for WrestleMania, let's talk about WrestleMania Night 1.
Yeah, let's talk about another train wreck. No, I mean, okay. So obviously we know the situation. Lots of stuff was pre-recorded. Many of the matches were pretty much going to be cut and paste at this point because they want to just go ahead, get the show done, put something out, period, regardless of storyline, regardless of quality. I think that really showed with the whole night because it started off blah, but then excelled to such lunacy that you can't say it wasn't entertaining. And I think that's really the ground of it all. It's like it's still entertainment. They still put on a show for whatever fans were watching, and they're going to feel accomplished in that regard, regardless of the cheese factor or how much they're going to be able to build off of it in months to come, if there are months to come for them.
Well, let's talk about aesthetics really fast. It's just very obviously this is the same aesthetic they've been using for a few weeks on Raw and SmackDown as well. But it's still just so weird, especially when you have to stop and think about it. It's like, this is WrestleMania. This is WrestleMania. And it's just, it doesn't feel like it at all, because when you think of WrestleMania, you think of this giant event with all these people, and just the fact that it's just like this in this tiny building with very few people there, and the most of they have in terms of a set is just this WrestleMania logo in the back, like behind the anchors. It's weird.
Again, I mean, like you said, it's pretty much the same setup they've had for the past couple of weeks. SmackDown and Raw were pretty much the testing grounds for what they were going to do. I mean, the Performance Center, you can only do so much with everything, how it's allocated. And yeah, it's supposed to be the showcase of the Immortals, but it had less activity than an old folks' home. So it's going to be one of those things where you're just going to have to take it for what it's worth. It's either you get this or you get nothing. And yes, there are some people that probably would have preferred nothing. But I do have to say, for what you got in the second half of the show, it's almost serendipitous how it actually worked out at the end. because I feel like if you did have fans there and you did have like some traditional formatting for some of these things, it probably wouldn't have even worked as well as it did. Like, take for example the ladder match.
Mm-hmm.
All right, that was supposed to be a tag team championship match, 6 gentlemen all flying around and everything.
Mm-hmm.
I almost feel like it did better being just the 3 guys, because then you had a lot more time for these particular individuals to shine. There wasn't as much clutter. There wasn't as much confusion, especially wherever the Usos are concerned. Anytime the Usos are in a match, I can still never tell which one is which. Here, at least I know there was just one Uso. So there was one member for the team, and that fit. And
I think it was Brian Zane who said recently on his review of WrestleMania, like, hey, I finally can tell which Uso is in the ring.
yes, I can see exactly how it's supposed to pan out. And yes, while it's supposed to be a tag team championship match, you still had probably the 3 best competitors for a ladder match in this regard. You had Kofi, you had one of the Usos, and you had that goddamn sex god John Morrison.
Yeah.
You know, like it was so nice to see him back in this format, because I feel like whenever they brought him back, I wasn't sure how they were going to bring him back and utilize him. This is how you utilize him in a match like this.
Yeah, and he's getting a little bit older now, and so is Kofi Kingston. Actually, you were just he's just Coffee now, right?
Kofi, not
Kofi,
coffee.
Kofi.
Racist.
How's that racist?
I'm calling him coffee.
I'm just bad at pronouncing his name. I think this was an argument we had at last year's WrestleMania.
Yeah, when we were sitting at the bar, and I wasn't sure if it was like, the liquor hitting you or if it was actually just your pronunciation, but
just years of pronouncing that name wrong. Just
no, it's Kofi. Kofi.
Kofi.
Like Coco Beware, Kofi.
All right, I'll remember that now till the next time. But I mean, like, he's a great high flyer, and John Morrison's a great high flyer, and either one of the Usos are a great high flyer. So just, you get rid of the Miz in there. You don't have Austin Creed. I know I call him more Austin Creed now than I do by his other wrestling name.
Biggie.
You know who I'm talking about, right?
No, I know you. Well, Xavier Woods. He was out to begin with, so the tag team itself was going to be Biggie and Kofi, and yes,
and Big E, who is also not. He has that one move, and I never like him using it. That spear outside of the ring. So
yeah,
we got the right 3 people for this, but it should have just been a regular match. It shouldn't have been for the tag team titles. I'm not going to get into the logic of professional wrestling, because WWE's been throwing that, been spitting in the face of that for years.
Logic,
but and we haven't even gotten to the main event yet, but we'll get to that. You want to take this in order? We'll start with the Kabuki Warriors.
Well, I mean, we don't necessarily have to touch on every match, but I will say this: the first half, not even counting the pre-show match. But the first half with like the women's tag team championships, the Intercontinental Championship, King Corbin versus Elias, which of course a lot of people said probably wasn't going to happen because Corbin essentially tried to kill Elias a couple of weeks ago.
And then he was fine. He just had a bit of a shoulder injury.
Exactly, yeah. Honestly, it was just kind of par for the course. I mean, there really wasn't too much about the matches that I could say you could have found on any of the standard television programming.
Right. We're talking about like the first half, and I think, were you saying you thought it was kind of dull at the beginning? Because that's how I kind of felt. Like, nothing against any of the women wrestlers inside that tag team match, but they, without an audience there, it just, I don't know, it just felt very awkward. I think they should have started with a different match, probably the Kevin Owens versus Seth Rollins match. I think should have started it, because that I felt actually stood up even without a crowd there, but not that the one they started with. I felt that was a bad start.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like it could have used a little staggering, because you can clearly see like the meat and the potatoes happened at the end of the meal, and the appetizer was kind of just like chips and dip. You know, if you had like switched it up a little, you could have even started with Goldberg and Braun Strowman. You know,
Yeah,
just
and
gotten
that
that out
was
of
a
the way.
very quick match. That would have been a nice thing to like get you into the show, and then you
Yeah,
jump
start
to the
off
next
with the
one.
title change still, but at least it would have been like, wow, all right, just like blow my mind with the quickness of it.
I also, since we're jumping around here, I'm a little shocked that the women's title match between Becky and oh man, I have not been watching too much programming.
Shayna
I'm
Baszler.
getting Shayna Baszler. Uh, that was it's just funny for Becky, who was main eventing last year, and now she's just kind of in the middle of night one. It's just a weird spot for her.
I know, and unfortunately, you can only put that to booking. The way they were building up the match originally was one thing, but then obviously when everything hit, it just kind of like derailed a lot of things. So it really just depends on how you were really going to be able to push the match. Plus, I mean, there's also the rumor that Vince is kind of cold on Shayna Baszler. Like,
Really?
well, because we've seen it with other superstars. I mean, we've seen it with people that have come up. Aleister Black has been relegated to, squash matches. Ricochet barely gets a sniff anymore. Cedric Alexander, forget about him. And the fact that Shayna Baszler isn't exactly like, divas material, let's say, I could imagine that Vince is probably going to go ahead and look at her with a little bit of like, I don't know. It's unfair. It really is. But until the man retires, that's what you're going to get. That's
Yeah.
why I feel like you got some of the wins that you did. Becky keeping the belt, Braun Strowman getting the belt off Goldberg, even the Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross winning the belts off the Kabuki Warriors.
Well, I'll be fair. I think Braun Strowman was kind of weird because with Braun Strowman, from what I heard, they didn't really want to give him the title belt for a while because they felt he wasn't taking his role seriously enough.
Right, but you have to look at it from the perspective of like this is going to be possibly a downturn for quite some time. If that's going to be the case and you're going to rely on past footage of shows and reruns and stuff like that to propel you and be able to have people on hand for any recording of matches, who are you going to be able to utilize more? The Hall of Fame retiree who can get gassed out after 3 minutes, or the larger, more company oriented superstar who is there at your beck and call?
Well, that's another thing where all these other these leagues, sports leagues, are all canceling their seasons. Like, should WWE, maybe even AEW, be taking a break for a little bit?
Well, AEW has noted that they've recorded enough matches to put them out for like probably into May. I don't know about WWE because WWE only started doing the recording of the matches recently. And
Well,
even then, they're still going to have to build off of whatever happens with WrestleMania, which of course has been close knit. So I don't know if they really have enough set.
yeah, and I don't know. I'm agreeing with a lot of other people. It's again, WrestleMania wasn't bad last night, but it was so underwhelming in my opinion, with the exception of one match. That
Yes, let's touch on the one match,
it really
given
shouldn't have been
our
done.
film expertise.
So yeah, so I guess they did the one thing that would be interesting in this environment. And they went into the what I call the Lucha Underground style. Some other people refer to it as the Ultimate Deletion style or whatever. Final Deletion, whatever the first one was that Matt Hardy did.
Well,
I mean,
Final Deletion is the WWE version of Broken Matt Hardy's, compound matches.
so I
That's
thought it was
not
the
the same.
Ultimate Deletion was that one. So that one was the Final Deletion.
That
I
was the
know they
Final
did.
Deletion.
I know they did it 3 times. I'm getting confused on what is what. I don't know though. Like I still call it the Lucha Underground style because they're the ones I think that really started treating it more like a TV show than a wrestling promotion.
Well, they had the editing where dialogue and stuff kind of played into it more, and obviously you actually got a good amount of talking from AJ Styles and American Badass
Yeah.
Undertaker Mark Calloway, who didn't even bother doing the Undertaker voice during the match. He was just straight up Texan
Yeah.
talking to him.
Well, no, I think that's how he spoke when he was doing the American Badass between
No.
2000 and
I will
2004.
defend this. Even when he was doing American Badass, he still had like that Undertaker low gravel sort of voice to it. He may have talked more, but he was still in the same character of voice.
Not always. Sometimes he did talk in the same voice that he was talking in last night. I think from what we could see of the Stone Cold podcast, his voice is even lighter than what he was portraying last night.
Oh yeah, no, it's complete like Abraham Lincoln sort of stuff. Everyone thinks like Abraham Lincoln had a low voice. No, he had a high voice despite his stature, and that's the same thing with Mark Calloway. Like he's his voice is probably more authentically Texan than Stone Cold Steve Austin's is. And that's bewildering.
But I did enjoy it for what it was, because we knew it wasn't going to be like the minute I heard it was a boneyard match and this new pre-taped environment that we're currently doing everything in. I knew it was going to be at least entertaining. Maybe not someone like Jim Cornette would like, but something I enjoyed.
No, I can say that like it definitely had like an Amazon Prime sort of horror movie feel to it. Like I could see like a series of these just being like an anthology series of like, because really when you think about it, wrestling in general lends itself more to like the action adventure / horror genre than practically anything else. Whether it's because of the stunts and the movements that people do, whether it's because of the overacting that people do, whether it's because of the gratuitous satisfaction of the id that offers that you get from these sort of offerings. It's really one of those things where whether it's gimmick wise or not, just grown men fighting it out in weird outfits, it fits. It really, really fits. I mean, and not to say anything against Mark Calloway, because obviously he has some acting experience. The man was in television episodes of like Poltergeist: The Legacy. He was in Suburban Commando with Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, I didn't think you were going to bring up that one. You're really
of
going to
course
bring
I
up
was.
that one.
I absolutely is going to bring that up. Yes. So he has some acting chops to him. AJ Styles, on the other hand, AJ was just being AJ, just being loud and obnoxious. But I mean, that's pretty much been his character ever since the Impact days. So I mean, that works.
It's amazing how much far he's gone, because I've been watching him. I actually remember him in WCW. That's how far I've been following him.
Oh wow, yeah.
And just how far he's grown his character work, because he was never known for being a talker, and now he is just as entertaining as most other people are on the mic.
Probably more so just because of his mic skills and the fact that he has that like almost high school bully sort of mentality,
Yeah, a little bit there, and it really worked for last night. Like, I mean, he got his butt kicked for most of that match, but I don't even know. Could we call it a match? Like, did Undertaker actually win?
It was like a short independent film, but
yeah, it was more like a film than a match.
Yes, but
all it needed. Do you ever watch Death Battle online?
Yes.
It felt like a death battle. Like the only thing when AJ's hand is just sticking out of the dirt at the end of that match, it just needed a KO right there.
Look, I'm not going to deny it. The cheese factor on this was great, but at least it wasn't a cheese platter. It was more like, a couple of slices on a quarter pounder. It's one of those things where it fits the rest of the environment. Look, cinematography-wise, I think the cameramen did a great job. Special effects wise, aside from the little laser light show you got at the end.
I was gonna say, like, it was also very cheesy, but it all worked except the damn light show at the end. Like, why? Like,
you could have just stuck with the fire. There was no reason to have like a laser light of the old Ministry emblem on top of the shed.
Yeah. I mean, they've even done that with fire in the past. If his emblem came up in fire, I would have been fine with that. But having the full light show, it's like, when did you guys put the lasers in?
Oh, they could have gone so Daredevil and just like mapped out the insignia around the motorcycle and have that go into flames and just like have that big old T around him
I would have been
before he
fine with
drove
that
off.
too.
That would have been epic.
I don't know. There are so many things against wrestling in this match, and that's the one thing I take it at. It's like, damn, light show.
However, no, that wasn't even the cheesiest part. You know what the cheesiest part was?
What?
It was the goddamn Jason Voorhees moment when AJ is on the tractor and he's zooming it up and he's getting it ready, and then all of a sudden you have that bright light behind and Taker pops up. That is such a goddamn Friday the 13th moment.
That was pretty cheesy too, but you know what? It was so funny, and it's like a meme was born because so many people are going to turn that into a meme now. I'm fairly confident.
I hope so. I really hope so. I hope that entire match is meme worthy, more so than in the entirety of the entire show. That match alone is meme worthy. If they are not using that for promotional purposes, leading into tonight, when you're going to have a match probably of similar caliber. In the Fiend Bray Wyatt and probably regular Bray Wyatt, depending on how they edit it, versus John Cena in a Firefly Funhouse match. I'm like, based upon this, I'm hoping that match is at least a touch above, because you're going to have a much more seasoned actor in John Cena. Say what you will about his acting. And you're going to have a much more dynamic character in The Fiend than you did in Biker Taker.
Well, my only worry is that every time that they put Bray Wyatt in one of these matches, it doesn't seem to really work out, except for Final Deletion. But like the what was that other one he did with Randy Orton a few years ago?
The House of Horrors.
The House of Horrors match, which was not good. Then they tried to copy the Ultimate Deletion with the on the Wyatt compound with the New Day, and that was So I'm a little like Undertaker. It worked out really well. I'm a little more worried about it working out with Bray Wyatt because he doesn't have a good track record.
He doesn't have a good track record, but you also have to look at those two particular matches differently than, say, what we saw last night. What we saw last night is probably the most amount of production value they've actually put into one of those matches. The Final Deletion being on the Hardy compound and having Matt Hardy have probably a little more free reign to set up everything, and the fact that there actually was a physical ring, that's an entity in itself. As for the House of Horrors and the Wyatts versus the New Day, first of all, Wyatts versus New Day was pretty much just out in the field with a couple of cars. You know, I think that was the mistake. You know, there was lighting issues. There wasn't as much to work with, so they kind of like went 180 from there, and that's where you got the House of Horrors, which I think the problem there was a lot more of the confined space of it. You know, being able to work within actually a house and have to work with like the certain angles that you get, putting cameras in corners and having the weird lighting and everything like that.
Don't get me wrong. I think there's a lot of potential in this upcoming match. In fact, like I'm kind of just as you're talking, I'm thinking about it, it's like, imagine if these puppets start getting involved in the match. Like,
oh, I hope they will. I hope like Ramblin' Rabbit is just like
he just hits Bray Wyatt with a chair. This is for all the times that you were attacking me.
Yes. Let him be the weasel that tries to help out John Cena. But John Cena in a cage, have Ramblin' Rabbit be the one that gets him out, and it's like, you got to take me with you. I can't stand it anymore here. But then on the way out, like, you know, Wyatt grabs Ramblin' Rabbit. It's like, save yourself.
You know, I know it's not going to happen because of how everything's going on with this virus. But
we're too creative for WWE. Yeah, that's the problem.
If he opened up a door and just Pee Wee Herman's there, it's like, I think I went to the wrong house.
Oh, God, I would love that. I would love if they – look, the one thing they probably have to do with this match, more so than the Boneyard match, they have to lean into the humor of it. John Cena is probably at his best when he is trying to be funny. Whether it was all the way back in the days with his raps or any kind of like shoots he ever did at The Rock, or even in cinema, usually he's better leaning towards the comedy angle than towards the action angle. We've seen that
most of his praise comes from his acting, acting in comedy movies, such as what was that one that he really stood out from a few years ago? I'm trying to think.
Trainwreck.
Trainwreck, yeah.
Yeah, and that was just like a side role. That wasn't even like one of the main characters. But whether it's that or blockers, he does lean more better than comedy. He's like the other side of The Rock. The Rock works best in action.
Mm-hmm.
John Cena works best in comedy. So if they lean into the humor in this thing, it could really be possibly a better showing of what WWE can do cinematically than even the Boneyard match was. But that's in comparison to all the other matches that are going to come before it, because I'm imagining that match is probably going to be the main event, not Brock versus Drew McIntyre, unfortunately.
Which I think that would be the wise decision. We'll see what Vince says, because Vince always knows best. Vince. But we do have another interesting match on there with Randy Orton versus Edge, but I don't know. Either way,
well, I mean, we were talking about that in previous episodes about Edge coming back and whether or not he should.
Mm-hmm. I think in this environment where they could pre-tape things and keep them safe, it might work out a little bit better. But we'll talk about that more. We'll talk about night 2 a little more next week because technically we haven't seen it yet.
Yeah, we'll talk about night 2 and we'll give like a full aftermath report, because who knows what's going to go on with WWE. Who knows what's going to go on with wrestling in general now that the big showcase is over and done with.
Yep, and it's and this whole entire coronavirus thing is definitely going to be going on for a few more weeks. I'm saying weeks, a few more months. It's going to be a crazy period of time, especially for all these entertainment companies that just make a weekly product. Unless you're like us, where you can just do it by Zoom. Yes, that'll be the next evolution: wrestling match by Zoom.
So take this pile driver. And, just start making sound effects.
That's what they were doing last night in the Undertaker match. I was just seeing them
grunting. Oh God!
So adding the pun. Here's the thing: when you do enough action films, and I do really shitty action films, but action films nonetheless. Me and my friends, we add the audio in there for the punches, and it's usually those really cheap punches, like in the 80s.
The Foley,
and they were adding it into the Undertaker match, and I'm just like, really? It's just so cheesy.
At least they didn't go like cartoonish with it,
No, they didn't. But the whole match was cartoonish. But
anyway. When the 6 druids came out, I'm like, really? They got themselves druids, and they were just cannon fodder.
By the way, when AJ Styles hit the Undertaker with a tombstone, was anyone else thinking about the old In Your House video game? Oh, that reminds me. By the way, talking about WrestleMania, have you been to www.shop.com?
No.
All right, so they are selling WrestleMania 36 t-shirts, but kind of humorous ones to a degree. I don't think I'm going to buy it, but they do have a I wasn't there WrestleMania 36 t-shirt for sale.
Oh yeah, I did see that at least. And they're also selling the chairs that would have been up in the VIP front areas. So you can do that for like $100 if you want a WrestleMania 36 chair that definitely has not been sitting on by anybody.
I gotta check it. I don't know if I'm imagining wrong, but they also have a WrestleMania In Your House one too.
That oddly fits perfectly.
Yes. In your house, stay there.
Yes. That should be like a fundraising thing. WrestleMania In Your House, buy this vintage WWE shirt, and part of the proceeds goes to make sure that the wrestlers don't get sick, or send it out to the indies, since obviously they couldn't get any lucrative money off of the show actually going on live this year.
Proceeds will go to making sure there's a XFL season 2.
Oh God, enough of that.
So anyway.
But yeah, I mean, hopefully they take the wise road, whatever may happen. Maybe they take a hiatus, just showcase a bunch of stuff from the network for those people that aren't signed up to the network. I know. I'm thinking overly positive, but
yeah, that's not gonna happen. Vince McMahon didn't shut down WrestleMania for a global wide pandemic. He is not shutting down. He will find a way. He'll be like, you're coming over to my house. We're going to have a wrestling match in my living room, and just have his crew tape it.
Oh, don't act like that's not how Vince used to party back in the 90s, all right? He probably had like a couple of muscly dudes just like wrestling in his front yard, come over, we're having a barbecue. It's just like, Macho Man went ahead, snapped into a Slim Jim, and then handed him out to everybody. Don't act like it didn't happen.
No, I can picture that. It's like, what's this? We're booked for something in Connecticut for like rich man. I don't know.
God,
there's a joke there, but I'm too stupid to think of what it is.
Anyway, let's step away from wrestling until next week for a moment. Because obviously, aside from whatever was going on last night, there was something that I wanted to touch on. And for those of you who may not know, I do have a slight history in the world of stand-up comedy. It's actually how I probably got started doing any of the acting work or any of the film work that I've done, because I needed an outlet at the time, and it was either scaring people at Six Flags Great Adventure during Fright Fest, or it was doing stand-up. And I did all right. If it wasn't for one particular show that really gave me stage fright, I might still be doing it, but I haven't done it for 8 years. But I still keep in contact with those people, stand-ups and the like, whether they're performing at Stress Factory over here in New Brunswick, New Jersey, or working up in the city at Eastville or Broadway Comedy Club, Gotham, any of those places. And at the same time that Wrestlemania was going on, there was also a 6-hour live stream that was going through multiple platforms, Twitch, YouTube, all that. And it was for an organization called Comedy Gives Back. And basically, it's a fundraising nonprofit organization that was going ahead and making sure that comics who do a lot of stuff on the road, who only make a living when they're in the clubs, still have a foot to stand on. So I went ahead and I was viewing that at the same time I was viewing WrestleMania. So on WrestleMania is on one screen, and on my laptop I have the Twitch stream of this thing going on, and it was very surreal. Some of it, when you had like certain matches going on, you had certain comics talking at the same time. I was doing like live posting on Twitter for the whole thing, and they had a lot of people coming into this, and it was a shit show still. Here's the problem. They did it through all the different platforms, and they did it through Zoom. But the moderators, the people that were in charge of the stream and like switching from this person to that person and getting everything organized, they were never like in the same room or never shown on camera or had much contact with the actual performers going on. So you had people going over time. You had the wrong people being put on camera. You had audio issues. You had video issues. You had people not being signed in. They tried so hard, but it was all like a bunch of granddads trying to use social media and trying to use new technology. I'm like, from the start of it. All right, so it kicked off with Jimmy Fallon. And then it went over to Howie Mandel, because they had like a host every hour. Howie Mandel hosted the first hour. Mm-hmm. The minute you shot from Howie Mandel talking to the first guest, which was Elijah Schlesinger, it was like Eliza was talking to her dad, trying to get him to use the phone properly. It was so bad. And from there, it just kept on.
Is there a recording of this anywhere? Because I'm almost interested to check it out now.
There actually is. If you go to the Twitter page for Comedy Gives Back, which is the organization that ran this, was essentially the hashtag was LaughAid 2020. You can actually go and you can see a recap of the entire 6-hour stream, and you can see like towards the later part of the evenings, you had like certain people get on there that knew what they were kind of doing, like Roy Wood Jr. and, Whitney Cummings as hosts. So they had a better idea about what was going on than, say, Bob Saget and Howie Mandel. But the listings that they pretty much put up a block of like who was going to be on per hour. The blocks of some of these things, just giving you block 6 alone. Block 6 was hosted by Patton Oswalt.
Okay.
And it had Ron Funches, Brian Posehn, Mark Maron, Joel Kim Booster, Maria Bamford, Paul Scheer, and Mazanukis from How Did This Get Made? Other hours, you had Bert Kreischer, Adam Sandler, Adam Conover from, just, oh, my, hold on. I'm going to go through the whole listings here.
Do we have to go? I don't think we need to go through the whole listing of this.
Well, I'm just going to point, names that I noticed. So, yeah, you had Hannibal Buress showing up at one point. You had Gilbert Gottfried. You had... basically, you had some people that knew how to do what they were doing.
You had a lot of famous
and
comedians.
Some people that didn't, like Ray Romano. Ray Romano, oh my God, I felt so bad for him. But I would definitely suggest going ahead and checking it out, because I know enough people in the comedy industry that are suffering, and so it's nice to see that
some of those guys are not suffering.
Their own.
Some of those guys are not suffering. Some of those guys are pretty well set.
No. Here's the thing. I don't want you to get the wrong idea. This fund is not going to any of the comics that were showcased on this show. They're going to comics that are just like, the comics that we see every week going to shows in the city, or, every weekend, like doing 4 shows a day just to get noticed and recognized. People that live in that industry and try to live off of that. So don't think that Dane Cook and Kyle Kinane are going ahead and getting this money. They're not. They're fine. They're doing what they can. They've got their contracts. They've got their managers.
There's a lot of people in this industry. How's it decided who's getting this?
Well, that's the thing. The particular people that run the fund, I'm not exactly sure. It's like 3 women that started Comedy Gives Back, and I guess it's that trifecta of people that goes ahead and makes the determinations about how the fund is split towards other comics out there on the road, out there in the cities, doing the touring, doing the footwork. But yeah, don't think that any of the people that actually went ahead and did this stream are getting the money. That's not the case. They got on the stream to bring enough notoriety to the fund to get it to people who desperately need it. Okay. It's like there's actually an organization that does it for bartenders. And I went ahead and I signed up for that myself, being a bartender over at one of my side jobs. And that is strictly a fund that's going to go ahead and help people that thrive in that industry.
We were actually discussing this last week, how this is really affecting anyone within the gig economy. It's I'm screwing up my words there. Comedians are obviously one of them, but to think about it, it's just all these people right now who have no income coming in.
Mm-hmm. Like me, basically. I'm not going to say it hits close to home, but it does.
Those bills.
Yeah, I know. I'm like I said, I apply for these grants and everything and try to see what I can do, but it's nice at least knowing that there are people out there making sure that people in the gig economy are at least taken care of, because I think now more so than ever, the gig economy is a thing. It's not necessarily just, a couple of part-time jobs that people go ahead and use that to get by when they can't get a full-time one. It's the fact that these are artists, these are creators, these are people that are pursuing a passion that there isn't necessarily a lucrative industry for.
And you got to also think, even if to that argument, if someone does say like, well, these people need to go for a full-time job, remember right now, everything's at a stop. You can't get a full-time job right now.
Unless you decide to go work at a supermarket or something.
And who knows if you can really get a job right there at the moment too. I mean, everything has really come to a standstill in a lot of ways.
But it's like organizations like this that I really think are doing the best they can, and I really find it comforting. Like, I hope maybe more organizations like that really start to show up and come out of the woodwork and really do what they can for the people that maybe the government isn't thinking about or hasn't really planned into whatever, $10 $1,000 check, whatever that they're sending out to people. I wish it was 10,000. God, I know it's only going to be 1,000. I know. Well, that's before taxes.
Yeah, and you got to think it's just let's say the government wanted to help to. I'm not even going to get into it. I'm not even going to talk.
I know. We don't touch on politics, but again,
but it is a tough time. It is like it's hard to keep up. I'm thankful also for the people who are suspending bills and such right now. That like if you're a landlord not collecting the rent from people this month because you're not going to get it.
Well, I still paid mine, but
yeah,
I know I'm going to be suffering next month. I know that much, but
I think you're now. I would say that you might be able to convince your landlord for an extension without mentioning who your landlord is.
Yeah, no, I'm not touching on that. But I also don't want them to feel hurt because they don't have to worry about just me. They have to worry about the people below me too. So if I'm not giving, any reason to be like going soft on me, then hopefully, the other people don't either. And she'll get more money off them than they will me.
Well, hopefully things get better in the future of the world. And speaking of the future, so
I like that. Ooh, that was good.
Season 3 of Future Man came out. Now, unfortunately, I am not someone who has yet experienced Future Man. I'm going to try to binge it in the near future.
Now, hold on. We've been talking about Future Man since it premiered.
Uh-huh.
We've talked about it on previous episodes.
Yeah, that's right. You did. You was that like in 2017 that came out, right?
That was the first season, yes.
I'll tell you what. I tried to watch the first season, at least the first episode, and it wasn't clicking with me. I don't know why, but it wasn't clicking with me. But since then, I've heard more stuff about it, and it seems to go into a direction I think I would more enjoy. So I'm going to give it a second chance. But I've said this in the past. I have to be in the right mood to really watch something, and that's just not been something I've been in the mood for yet.
All right, fine. But I will say the way they ended the show, because this is the third and final season.
Should we try to avoid spoilers?
Oh, it's absolutely going to be spoiler free. But I will say this. While I do feel like they could have gone another season, I do enjoy the way they wrapped up the show because, it's still focusing on the same three characters. You still got Josh Futterman, played by Josh Hutcherson of the Hunger Games popularity. And then you've got the other two, Tiger and Wolf, who are just the weirdest characters I have seen on television in quite some time.
Who's who in there between Tiger and Wolf?
Tiger is the overly aggressive, uber militant woman, the blonde.
Mm-hmm.
And Wolf is the jack of all trades, pining for the spotlight dude with the X on the face.
Now, is Wolf, I apologize, I don't know the actor's name, but was he the one who played Overkill on The Tick?
Ooh, I'm not sure. Hold on. I could probably tell you in a second because, you have your computer too, but yes. Let's see. I think his name is...
Pardon the interruption as we look up information we don't know.
Wilson, if I'm remembering right.
I just remember watching trailers for Future Man, and it just clicked me when we were talking about Future Man in today's episode. Like, I think I know that actor. That's the funny thing when you don't watch a TV show and it's filled with unknowns, and then you come back to it years later and you go, "Oh wait, that's so and so." It's like the people get famous as time goes on.
No, he was not on The Tick.
Okay.
He was just in Birds of Prey and The Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn.
Oh, he was.
Yes, slight detective role, but the other big show that you'd probably know him for is Preacher.
Oh, what was he in Preacher?
He was Donnie Schenk.
Okay.
And the thing is, it's not surprising because Preacher was also done by Evan Goldberg and Seth Rogen, much like Future Man was. Those were the main producers of both shows. So it's not hard to imagine there's probably some crossover of actors.
Yeah, which makes sense. It's, and I hate to say it, this is just my common theme. I'm behind like by 2 or 3 seasons on Preacher. I'm like, I need more time to watch stuff. Like during this whole break, I've watched 4 seasons of Star Trek: The Next Generation. I watched 2 cartoon series. I've watched all of Picard. There's just too much media out there, man.
Well, I mean, I just started Preacher myself, which of course there's all 4 seasons that are on Hulu right now, so you can go ahead and stream it at your will. I started watching the first season earlier in the year. I haven't even finished the first season, but I like it so far. I like that Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg are the kinds of guys that can go ahead and really add humor to things that weren't necessarily be that humorous. Like the whole futuristic, post-apocalyptic sort of thing that you get with Future Man, and the whole horror, supernatural, vampires thing that you get with Preacher.
Well, remember, Preacher's also, it's a comic book from the 90s as well, though all of season 1 was never existed in the comics. In
Right.
fact, the comic book actually starts in, like, I believe the very last scene of Preacher, which not really a spoiler, but that's kind of where the comic starts.
Right, but obviously they took some creative license with it. But I do like that they go ahead and they inject more humor into these situations than you normally would think. It's almost on par with kind of what they've done with uh, Lucifer. You know, Lucifer could have easily have been just the straight horror, sort of like Dracula sort of feel that you would have gotten on the show. But boy, that show has some humor to it that I just thoroughly enjoy. Not to mention Tom Ellis as Lucifer Morningstar is just so charismatic as far as the devil.
Yeah.
And shows like these, where you have this blend of horror and humor, it's hard to do.
Well, do you think this is all born out of stuff like Buffy the Vampire Slayer? I'm sure it's older than that, but that's the oldest I can remember going back was of a TV series that mixed horror and comedy.
I would say so, but even then, Buffy and Angel, they weren't as humorous as these shows are. This almost is cartoonish in some cases. I feel like it probably comes more out from let's see, what's a horror cartoon that would have been back in our decades, since those are the people that grew up and started developing these shows.
I don't know, Ten Tales of Billy and Mandy. I don't know.
Maybe.
Well, actually, Seth Rogen is older than that. He's been acting since I think the late 90s, correct?
Yeah,
Even
so I mean, I
before
don't know
that.
if he grew up on like Count Duckula or anything like that, but
Probably that was 80s.
yeah, but that was also British humor, so that's like a little bit different, but
Slight bit.
yeah, slight bit. Oh God, Brits.
Yeah,
Doctor Who is also similar in that regards. Maybe not so much in recent seasons, but certainly during like the David Tennant years. Oh my God, that was some funny stuff.
Yeah, I think David Tennant and especially Matt Smith, because I think Matt Smith went more comedy. So yeah, okay, I can see a lot of that.
Matt
So
Smith went more comedy with just like some of the episodes, like the episodes with him and James Corden.
mhm.
I love the little baby called Thundergeddon. Oh my God.
He would like to be known as Thundergeddon.
But yeah, sci-fi is also weird with that too, in regards to like, you know, what they take seriously and what they find humorous. And since Future Man is definitely more on the humorous side, you look at other sci-fi shows and they've all really been like kind of serious. Like you're looking back at stuff like Star Trek, Star Wars, Farscape, Stargate Atlantis, Stargate in general, any of the Stargate shows.
I guess there's Lex, but that Lex was just batshit crazy.
Lex was weird.
Yes,
I'd say more
very,
so
very
than
weird.
Lex had pacing issues. There would be like 5 minutes worth of like no dialogue in some of those episodes.
Oh, did you ever try to binge that? I binged that, and just how many times that one actor who would repeat what he was. I'm the last of the blah blah blah, and every episode he
What was
would
that,
say that.
Kai? I think that was Kai, the dude with like the big old
Yeah,
pompadour hair.
yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, no, that show was weird because
It was
really
just
the
weird.
whole of the show was just like the three actors and whatever the talking head was.
It was just a robot that had fallen in love, I guess, with one of the main characters. It
The
it
woman.
was
Yeah,
yeah.
everyone falls in love with the woman, but except for Kai, because I guess Kai is just so unemotional or
Well, he was dead, so that was
yeah.
part of that.
Plus, wasn't there a thing where it's like he didn't even have any
I
stuff to work with?
I don't even remember. It's been so long since I watched that show, and as you said, it was an incredibly weird show. But I don't know. I'm just trying to think of sci-fi horror that had a good deal of comedy, and I remember that was off the walls enough to be comedic. I don't
Well,
know.
you know which one actually had a good blend of sci-fi and humor? Firefly.
I I
Don't tell me you didn't see that one yet.
I hate to say it. I
Oh,
saw the movie. I saw Serenity. It's been on my watch list for so long, and it's just like every year that I don't watch it, I feel a little worse about myself. Like it's definitely like I say, like, oh, that's on my watch list. Firefly is definitely on my watch list. I just have not been able to sit down and watch it.
it's only one season. I'm not
In
saying you
six
have to like.
episodes, but it's just I've not been able to do it.
Oh,
And I'm even doing a comparison to the fact that Picard recently, from what little I have seen of Firefly, the series Picard. Have you watched Picard yet?
no, I haven't. No. I know of it.
Well,
I know that
if
there's a lot of blending of different
yes, there
variables.
is. It feels to a degree like they just took Picard and stuck him in Firefly to a degree for me. With that,
Really? That's how you describe it?
yeah, I mean, it's not like again, as someone who didn't watch Firefly, I can't really purely combine the two, but it does to the degree like they're all on a small ship with a small crew, and you have like all these crazy people that are part of the crew. It's nothing like any other series of Star Trek. I jumped from the Next Generation straight into this, and I'm like, wow, this is very different.
But I mean, does Patrick Stewart still feel like Jean-Luc Picard in that sense? Because I think that's really where you're going to have like the question of, okay, you had like 7 seasons of a show, you had multiple movies of with this
He is and
character.
he isn't. He feels too laid back at times compared to how he was as the captain of the Enterprise in the Next Generation, and as well as the movies.
Well, he's retired at this point, correct?
Yeah, he's been retired now for 15 years at the start of the series, but it's just things about him. He's just like he's too laid back. He's more Patrick Stewart now than Jean-Luc Picard, in my opinion. Which isn't
So it's kind of like
not a
a
bad
Luke
thing, but
Skywalker sort of thing, where it's like how he is now in his old age is nothing like he was in his prime.
to a certain degree. I mean, there's some aspects of him that, like, yeah, that's Picard there, the way he acts and does this or that. But for some other things, it just seems more laid back than the character has in previous renditions of him.
Does he drink any blue milk?
No,
Okay, good.
it's not Star Wars.
Nothing from another. That's good.
But then again, there's a ton of action in it too. It again, I've been binging the Next Generation, and everything about it is like how peaceful the world is now, and how we don't immediately go to violence or betray each other or do this or do that. And most of the story in this one is about betraying each other and all this violence and all this other stuff. It's like Star Trek is no longer really Star Trek.
So it's like Demolition Man.
What? How did you get Demolition Man from that?
Because you were saying it's a world that's completely at peace and it's not as violent or anything, and then all of a sudden all this violence happens. That's essentially what happens with Demolition
No,
Man.
that's not.
The
Demolition
future is
Man
at
was
peace, and then
no. Demolition Man
Wesley
was
Snipes comes up and blows up
no.
everything.
Like Demolition Man was a peaceful world, and then they released two people who made it less peaceful. That's not the
They
case with
released one
this.
person, and then someone else released the other person. Don't
Yes.
think it was,
Either way, it's not Demolition Man. It's very far away from Demolition Man.
Look, we're living in a world now where we don't have much toilet paper, so we're probably going to have to start with the 3 shells. All right? It's coming to that point.
It is. There's a few things in that movie that probably
All right? They don't do physical sex.
But,
they don't do high fives. They do little hand waves.
And
we are in Demolition Man now.
We're close to it. The other thing
now, as far as the rest of Picard, like, it's weird because you also have characters that weren't necessarily from like his generation per se, right?
Yes, and that's the thing too. Patrick Stewart is 79 years old. Apparently, in the show, Picard is like in his 90s. That's how they're portraying that.
He ages well.
Yes. Oh, I'm not going to give a spoiler, but the ending was weird and unnecessary, and I'll just leave it at that. But yeah, the rest of the crew, it's almost a completely new cast. It's not people you had previously seen, except for 7 and 9, who is apparently going to be a regular now. And I don't know much about 7 or 9. I never really watched Voyager, but she
was
well.
the only reason to watch Voyager. Trust me.
You know, and it's sad. Looking up a little more information on her, I didn't realize she didn't come in till season 4 of Voyager, and I just remember all the promotionals I ever saw for Voyager involved her. It's like, how big of a character did she become that even 4 seasons later, she became like the main attraction of that show?
Well, her and the Doctor were pretty much at that point the crux of the show. Forget Janeway, forget the rest of the crew. Forget even the people that were made important, like Ensign Paris from the opening of the first episode.
I'm going to be honest; it makes me not want to watch Voyager. It's like I don't want to go through 3 seasons.
Trust me, a lot of people
before I get to
Voyager.
7 and 9.
They only start watching Voyager because they had a sexy blonde alien, a Borg, and that was the whole crux of it. Like, she was just a Borg who was learning about human. It was kind of like a new version of Spock and McCoy on Voyager. That's essentially how it worked with the Doctor, who was just really known as the Doctor, the hologram played by Robert Picardo. And the way that he would kind of like introduce humanity to her when he himself isn't even human, it was kind of like, McCoy trying to get Spock to, open up and be more human and learn about feelings and everything, whereas McCoy himself, he wasn't exactly the warmest, cuddliest teddy bear on the whole damn ship. So I get the popularity of the two, and more so of the character, because that's almost how Star Trek has gone ahead with their castings since. It seems like ever since Voyager, it's now that every time you have an Enterprise or anytime you have a show, you have to have a sexy female alien on the crew. And I think it started there.
Maybe this is a reason why I never really watched I don't know. Star Trek was always kind of weird to me, and so many people were talking so highly of some of the series that's why I got into it. But I feel like I'm not going to like other versions of the show. But speaking of 7 and 9, her character from Voyager, where you're saying she's more kind of that, I guess you're trying to say like she's kind of that Data / Spock type character. That is not her in this show. She is like a badass bounty hunter that you don't screw with. Like
she learned humanity well.
Yes. Like she's got very human traits at this point, like, and hard drinker and all that stuff. It's like totally different character than what she had in the past.
Well, I mean, by the sound of everything, I'm sure very few of the characters are kind of how they were in the past. And I think this is just a way of them trying to utilize nostalgia for this franchise,
except
and
Riker,
try to build it back up.
Except Riker, who only had 2 episodes, but he's totally the same character he was in the other Star Treks.
Yeah, but Jonathan Frakes is kind of like, he's always him regardless of what he plays. I mean, you compare what he was on Star Trek The Next Generation to like his character of Xanatos on Gargoyles, with the exception of the evil demeanor, essentially the same guy.
Yeah.
And Even when I used to watch him on that Beyond Belief Fact or Fiction when he hosted,
Yeah.
and he would just introduce everything. He introduced it. It sounded like number one was talking to me.
Yeah, did you ever see that video compilation of all his introductions from Believe It or Not?
Yes, I have seen that.
It's hilarious. But
he's a great host. He should do more.
But again, Picard's definitely not bad, but it's not the Next Generation. Some of it's not all about Picard. There seem to be more between the characters, Soji and I believe Narek. Yeah, they seem to be like more the stars at certain points of the show than even Picard was. But it's just, I guess you gotta watch it for yourself. Also, the editing. I'm just, like you're an actor, so you kind of talk about the actors. I'm a filmmaker, so I'll talk about the production value. The editing is freaking all over the place. It's like they'll shoot a scene and they'll shoot a different scene and then they'll edit them together. So you're jumping from scene to scene within the same section of the show. And it's like, what the hell is going on right now? I don't know what this is.
See, I'm not sure if maybe they're using.
And I lost you again.
Oh, good.
Oh, wait, I got you now. I got you now.
See, that's the benefit. You've got the little television screen behind you where I can tell whether or not it's moving. So I don't know
if I don't see you moving at all, I'm figuring you're frozen.
Yeah, you think you lost me. I think I lost you. We lost each other, and I think we also lost where we were going with Picard.
Yeah, what was that last comment we were talking about there?
I'm not even completely certain. I think I was trying to draw the comparison because I wasn't sure of the show that they have on CBS All Access, that Star Trek one, that or like Origin show or whatever it is. But I'm not sure if maybe that's had something to do with how they approached Picard or not. If it's in the same realm, same editing, same film production. Because, I mean, for 2 Star Trek series to just pop up out of, like, thin air, especially when the movies themselves haven't been as successful as they should have been. And there was talk of a 4th movie, and they've cut that completely.
Yeah, it's like the franchise isn't doing as well anymore. And I think a mixture of that, from my understanding, is sort of like any other franchise who doesn't do good when they make it into a different genre. Star Trek was never supposed to be Star Wars. And I think in the last decade, a little over the last decade, they've tried to make Star Trek more like Star Wars with the flashy action. And I think it's turning away other fans while new fans aren't really pouring in.
And the only thing that is faithful to Star Trek, as we've discussed in the past, is the Orville.
Yes.
Which is taking forever and a day for the 3rd season to come out.
And there's another example of comedy meets sci-fi. It's not the same humor I think a lot of people were expecting of it, and it just ended up like another Star Trek without actually being Star Trek.
It's a Star Trek The Next Generation that knows how to poke fun at its characters. Because let's face it, if you look at Star Trek The Next Generation, you could have easily made jokes about Worf or Data, or there could have easily been some jabs with Deanna Troi and her family, especially her mom, who was pretty much a slut. There were things you could have done, but because the show had such respect and reverence for the franchise, it didn't go down those routes. Orville goes down those routes.
Yes.
More than once.
Well, from the mind to Seth Green, he doesn't have many boundaries.
Seth MacFarlane.
Oh, I said Seth Green. Too many Seths out there.
Yeah. From the actor behind Idle Hands comes the Orville.
Oh, wait, Seth MacFarlane made Idle Hands?
No, Seth Green was in Idle Hands.
Oh. Again, I don't know. Never mind. Moving on.
We got to get our Seths. We got Seth Rogen, Seth Green, Seth MacFarlane.
Seth Rollins.
We can do without Seth Rollins. He may be an architect, but he doesn't build anything.
I don't know, but that's just to summarize it with that's my take on Star Trek Picard. And now that I've seen every season, I can now cancel my CBS All Access.
Oh, so you don't even want to go ahead and check out the other Star Wars or Star Trek show?
I'm not overly interested in checking it out. I'm again, when it came out the same time as Orville, and every Star Trek fan was like, I'm gonna watch Orville. Discovery is weird. I don't know if I really want to see it. I'm not overly interested, to be honest.
Wow. But then in that case, you're definitely not interested in like a second season of Picard if and when they actually decide to make one.
I kind of am. I kind of want to see where it goes, but again, it ended on a really weird note too. I don't know. It's going to be one of those. We'll wait and see.
So is it going to be one of those things kind of like with the WWE network? Well, you sign up for the show and then you'll cancel before they actually charge you again. But then maybe if something else comes along the line next year or so, you may sign
Yes.
up again.
Yes, exactly that. In fact, you just reminded me. I don't know who keeps the WWE network past WrestleMania. I've actually had my account uh, since they came out. I've had my account active for 5 years. I think I'm finally going to cancel it after WrestleMania. I don't think there's anything else I want to see on the WWE network.
Wow.
I don't
Man,
know. For
you're
someone who
just
helps
like
host
finding money all over.
a wrestling an entertainment podcast, I really don't care for a lot of this entertainment out there.
Yeah, you're the conscientious objector, I
Yes.
think, to a lot of these things, which
Um,
it's good. I think on a show like this, you should have like, you shouldn't necessarily have people that think very similarly, similar, similar,
yes.
the same, because you're gonna have to have some basis for interaction, for back and forth. So, I mean, the fact that I am begrudgingly confused and in awe of how much you haven't watched, that helps, regardless of whether or not you want to think like that.
I'll tell you what though, for anyone out there who wants me to watch something specific to see what my opinion of it is, suggest it to me and I'll make time and I'll watch it. You can make your suggestions on Twitter at hashtag JTBigO. And we also, of course, got the Facebook and the YouTube. And yeah, that's about it.
Well,
uh,
for fan interaction, yeah, you can't really do a
yes.
lot on Podbean.
No, not so much. You can, I think you can comment on there. I got to check that out. But
You can see how far along we are with our
yeah.
systems.
Oh man, but yeah, I haven't. It's funny. I haven't been watching as I've been home for 3 weeks, and I've seen Next Generation. I said at the beginning of the episode, I've only seen
Yeah,
like
you've
four
you've pretty much just been
things.
focusing on that.
I will say I'll give some lame entertainment out there. Maybe not lame, but not something that I think most people get into. I've been watching a documentary series on
Please, not
Doctor
the one
Who.
about the tigers. Don't
No,
say
no,
it.
not that one. Though,
Okay.
in fairness, so many people have talked about it now. I feel I have to watch that at some point. I've
No,
come
no,
close
I
to sitting down and watch.
refuse. I
You're
am
refusing?
never going to watch that. I have no passion to watch it. It's not a subject matter that would
Really?
entertain me.
Now I feel I have to watch
The
it.
memes alone are annoying. It's just one of those shows that happen to come along at the right time. It could have been any show, but because we're all stuck inside, it's the one that's gained the popularity.
Do you really think it's that? You don't think it has anything to do with like just how batshit crazy that show is?
I've seen other things with batshit crazy people, and they've never gained this kind of traction. It's just a perfect storm as far as entertainment timeline goes. I think back to a movie, and this one hits a little close to home because I am an alum of West Virginia. And I think about The Wild and Wonderful Whites of West Virginia, which is a documentary about one of the most notorious hillbilly meth addict families in the entire state. And of course, they're in Boone County, which Boone County in West Virginia is essentially Camden County here, if that gives
Okay.
you any kind of idea.
Yeah, that'd be pretty bad.
Yeah. And so you have like these drug addled, country fried sort of people that are they're notoriously infamous. And I feel like these people are of more entertainment value than this stupid Joe Exotic and his tigers and everyone dressing, talking like, Carol killed her husband. It's like the show has actually opened up the case of the husband's death again because of this.
You know what? It's got to teach people, if you've gotten away with a crime, don't do a documentary talking about it.
Every time they do, they reopen the case.
Yeah, isn't this what happened to R. Kelly? Like,
yes.
they didn't touch him, and he did a documentary. Like, maybe we should check if he actually is a pedophile.
Even the whole making a murderer thing, that reopened cases. I mean, just look, don't commit crime, because chances are, if you commit a bad enough crime, there's going to be a TV series about it, and it's just going to make you worse.
Yeah.
I almost hope that, well, no, I don't want to necessarily say this, but there's a part of me that would almost hope that maybe somewhere down the line there's a movie or a documentary about what happened to me at the beginning of March that opens up a whole bag of worms about whatever criminal collusions these three people may have gone through, and maybe other people get busted.
Like I said, is a terrible experience, but you definitely got a story on your hand there.
It is a movie, yes. Even if it's a Lifetime movie, I don't care. The only question is, who would play me? That's what would mess me up. And I feel like...
Who you got in mind?
Well, on the one hand, there's Jonah Hill. And I'm saying, like, there were people that used to say I looked like Jonah Hill back when he was fatter, which I never took as much of a compliment. Now,
I don't think you ever look like Jonah Hill from the time I've known you.
I mean, if I really got up close to the screen.
No,
it doesn't. Really. But still, probably Jonah Hill more so than Brad Pitt. But the other person, and I hate to say this, but I know this would probably be who they go with. The actor that played Richard Jewell in the movie Richard Jewell last year.
I've never heard of Richard Jewell.
Richard Jewell, the security guard from the 96 Olympics. The one who discovered the bomb, and then they chastise him thinking that he planted it.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I'm sorry. That's not even a movie. That was just news, and you don't know what that is.
I don't remember it.
I
mean, I listened to a lot of news in the last decade, but it's not ringing a bell.
Oh, mercy.
Shows you how much it was really covered, I guess.
Enough for Clint Eastwood to want to make a movie about it. So hold on. Richard Jewell with 2 L's. Paul Walter Hauser. That's who the guy is. Other things you may have seen him in. You may have seen him in Black Klansman. You would have seen him in I, Tonya as the fat friend of Tanya's ex.
The one that actually used the... I don't know.
He was Sean in that movie, yes. He's also been in Cobra Kai as Raymond.
Okay, I think I know who that is then. Yeah.
No, he's been getting a lot of traction lately, and good for him, because he's actually a very decent actor. But he's also the kind of actor that you put up against attractive actors to make them look more attractive. And I feel like that's the guy they would get for me. So you'll probably get Denzel as the criminal, but you'll put him up against Walter Hauser.
I don't know what to say.
I don't know either. It's a sad state of things, but that's how Hollywood works. And nothing against Paul Walter Hauser. I would certainly not mind working against the guy. He's actually younger than me. Shit, that's even worse.
Yeah, I remember from Cobra Kai. He's in his early 30s, right, or late 20s, early 30s.
Born in '86, so he's 4 years younger than me.
So he's 33. 33 going on 34. Because I'm 34 going on 35.
Yeah,
Yeah, time flies. And then we die. Anyway, so I'm going to give Ryan a second here. While Ryan is reflecting on his life, I just want to go back and mention this thing that I was watching. It was reviews of Doctor Who, but they're very well done, almost hour-long episodes. You can catch them all on YouTube for free. They're created by Clever Dick Films, so look up Clever Dick Films. And I don't know, they've just been really good. He's up to part 10 right now, which is the start of the new series, episode 9. And yeah, I'm not getting any money from him. I just really like what he's done. Now I'm just pausing because Ryan, I lost him again, and I'm going to wait for him to come back. Oh no, I didn't lose him. He's just crying.
I used to be young once.
I don't know. Do we have anything else on the agenda for today?
I'm noticing the gray hair in my beard now just because I've let it grow out so long.
I don't have any words of comfort for you, sir. I'm sorry.
Okay. Let me slap out of it.
Anything else to talk about for this episode?
Yes, I'm about to invest in hair dye. Because I can't pull off the shaven head thing like you can. So,
well, I don't have a choice. Let's put it this way: you have gray hair, but you have hair. Like, I wish I had as much hair as you did. No one else in my family is bald. I'm bald. I was the lucky one.
Might be a stress thing. I don't know, but at least if I think if a guy goes ahead and shaves his head bald, his age instantly kind of goes out the window because then he's just like perpetually in like a certain state.
Yeah, I'm not trying to go back to Picard at this point. I'm kind of done talking about that show, but talking about Patrick Stewart in general, yes, for him, like, he's been bald since he came onto our TV screens in 1987.
Probably even before that.
And it's really helped keep him kind of young. Granted, now once you reach like 79, you can start seeing it more in the face. But he did kind of keep his youth for a lot longer than he would have otherwise, I think.
Right. Another case, look at someone like Jason Statham. That's Jason a guy Statham. That he almost looks older when the hair starts to grow in.
A little bit. And actually a really good case of this is Samuel L. Jackson, who is, I think, in his 70s now, and he does not look it at all.
Yeah, you look at something like Captain Marvel, where they had to put hair on him.
Mm-hmm. And it looks worse.
It didn't work for his age. Like, whatever de-aging they had for him, it didn't work. If they had kept him bald, maybe it would have been better. But the man you put like that little tuft on top, it didn't help matters.
Should we touch on that real quick? It looks like they have now officially moved back all their dates for the Marvel movies. So Captain Marvel 2 is now not going to be until, I believe, November 2021.
Yeah, a lot of stuff's been pushed back to 2021 and 2022.
That's right. It's actually 2022. It's actually going to be coming out.
Yeah, with Black Widow not being released until November of this year now.
And so I thought they were going to release it on Disney Plus. Are they still planning on that, or are they just releasing in theaters in November?
I think there's still probably a debate. Because, again, it's still the kickoff to the fourth phase of the MCU. To go ahead and put on streaming to begin with, I think they're starting to see how things are going with movies that are just being released online. And even with the rentals of stuff that were in theaters that are now available, you're not seeing that much of an uptick, especially when you consider how much those things are being asked for in rental purposes. Because all those movies, whether it be Bloodshot, The Way Back, Onward before it got on Disney Plus, The Hunt, Emma, they're all going for practically like $20 a pop for like a 3 or 4 day rental.
Right, and I don't think anyone really wants to pay $20 to watch something at home unless they can keep it.
And
not to mention a lot of those films
things where it's going to be like
so.
if you can watch it with the family. That's where the really value comes in. If it's going to be like a 2 or more watching,
Right.
and
And in this generation, there's so much more entertainment. You don't really need to buy a $20 movie to do that. You just need your a Netflix account or a Disney account or a Hulu account.
yeah, but it's a matter of like how much money they're going to actually make back if they were to just simply release it only on Disney Plus. I think the real test is going to come when you have things like Trolls World Tour that were supposed to be released in theaters, and they're going to get just a streaming release on it. Once you actually start hearing the reports on how that's doing lucratively, that will probably be the determining factor as to whether or not Black Widow hits theaters at all,
Right.
or if it stays simply streaming.
And remember, when it comes to that, you're not really fighting for that one ticket. You're fighting for an entire service. So you can't really tell, like, is the reason the uptick in the service because we released this, or is the uptick in the service just because the other stuff that we have available? So
Right.
you never know.
Yeah, it's going to be funny analytically. But to be honest, I don't know if I'd want to watch Black Widow simply on my television. I feel like a movie of that caliber, a movie with that kind of action, a movie with that character who I've watched on screen every time I've seen her, I want to see it in theaters. I don't want to necessarily just have it relegated to my television screen. Now, mind you, stuff like the streaming shows that they're going to have, like Falcon and Winter Soldier or WandaVision and stuff like that, those are fine for what they're going to do with them. But someone like Black Widow, someone who's been there practically since the beginning, since all the way in Iron Man 2, I want to see her big screen solo venture on the big screen. It's almost warranted for how much time Scarlett Johansson has put into this character.
And I'm kind of on it. I don't know. I've never been a big Black Widow fan or Scarlett, and I don't know. It's just me. I haven't been overly interested. I'll probably go see it nonetheless. But
well, hold on. I have to ask.
Yeah.
Considering your history of what you've watched and what you haven't, have you watched basically all the movies of the MCU?
I don't believe I missed any, so I believe I have seen all of them.
Okay, good. That's good. Now,
Iron Man 3. I didn't see Iron Man 3. That's it. I don't think it matters for what point you're trying to make, but still.
No, that's an outlier. That's fine. Now, as far as the Black Widow character has been portrayed in the films, have you garnered any respect for the character? Because, I mean, I would say I have more respect for the character now, having seen her in the films, than I ever probably did while she was just a comic book character. Because in the comic book, she really just seemed like the buxom, redheaded spy that would flip-flop more than the Big Show would.
I feel her and Hawkeye were always sort of like second in the background type characters compared to the rest of the cast.
But they always worked well as a team, too.
But, yeah, I can't explain to you my feelings over than that they never really did much for me. Both those performances, it seems like they were second thoughts, and it showed, in my opinion. I mean, it's going to come out. There's some interesting things about the movie I would be interested in seeing, but is it something that I feel I need to go out of my way for? I hate to say it, but no. But that's just me. I know I'm not every Marvel fan.
True, understandable. I mean, I shouldn't say that whatever you decide reflects upon the entirety of the fandom as a whole, but if you were going to see it and you see that it's an action movie, a lot of good action sets, you wouldn't prefer that in, say, like an IMAX or a Dolby Theater as opposed to just your television at home?
No, I probably prefer to see it in theaters. I prefer to see any type of action film, especially a Marvel film, in theaters, because I think it'll be better there. I'm not arguing that what Disney is deciding is a bad idea. I was just surprised because I thought they were going to go that direction.
I could see Disney going in that direction maybe with other things, but I don't think they should start doing that sort of stuff with such an established character. Like,
well, no, I don't think that's. I felt like your argument there was more the type of film needs to be seen in theaters, not that character needs to be seen in theaters.
well, they
Isn't that
kind of
what
go
your
hand in
argument is?
hand because this is, I mean, unfortunately, it's not Marvel's first female-led superhero film. Captain Marvel took care of that. But to probably get the most out of Natasha Romanoff as you could possibly get in a movie, between the action and the character development that we never really got in many of the other movies, it just feels like this is something that shouldn't be given to a lesser or second tier rollout. Like, it deserves the full experience like any other Marvel movie has gotten. Now, would I necessarily say the same thing about something like Shang-Chi when that movie is supposed to roll out? I don't know. Because Shang-Chi is not as well known a character, and Shang-Chi is going to be definitely an action movie, but much in the same regard as like most other action scenes that we've seen Marvel-wise. Like, I think it's going to be probably on par with Daredevil.
Yeah, which that scares me a little bit. I'm a little worried that because he's a lesser known character, he might not do as well.
Yeah,
He
it's
feels
kind of
like
the
a
same fear
character
they
that a
had
few
with
years
Guardians of the
ago.
Galaxy.
He feels like a character that he would have done a lot better a few years ago as a Netflix series instead of a full blown movie.
Well, considering how much they worked with the Hand, you really could have thrown him in there with Iron Fist and the rest of them. He would have made a nice addition to
They
the
probably didn't
overall.
have the rights to him in Netflix, and that's why they didn't use him.
That's true. Yeah, that's the qualm of it. That's why you got white man Iron Fist with the bad action scenes.
Yeah, that was like, hey, we got this really great actor. Oh, can he do action? No,
Can you train him to do action?
no. It's
Uh,
even, in fact, I do like I liked Luke Cage, and I remember there was an episode where, and I apologize, I don't remember the actor's name, but he was in the episode where they're doing a whole bunch of martial arts, and uh, Luke Cage was doing much better than the master of martial arts.
yeah, like
It,
I don't.
yeah,
I remember watching that first season. I'm like, this is bad choreography.
yeah. It's actually the only Netflix series I didn't see at all.
I
I
did
still got to
watch.
catch up on others though. I'm behind on Jessica Jones though. It felt like season 2 didn't have much fanfare, so I
Well,
didn't find a big appeal to go watch it.
season 2 of which show?
Jessica Jones.
Season 2 of Jessica Jones was definitely the outlier in the 3 seasons that it had, but that's because it focused more on Jessica's past and her history and
Jessica
her
only
mother,
had
which her
Jessica only
mother
had
was
2
never really a
seasons.
big factor.
Didn't Jessica only have 2 seasons?
No, it had 3.
It had 3. I didn't. I only thought I had 2.
Oh yeah, no. That in fact, the final season of Jessica Jones was the last Netflix Marvel season produced. So
Huh.
when season 3 of Jessica Jones ended, that was it for the universe.
Okay.
I know
Uh,
it's a weird mark to head off of because what Iron Fist got the 2 seasons, the Daredevil got 3 seasons, Punisher got the 2 seasons, and Luke Cage did Luke Cage get 3 seasons?
no, it only got
No,
2.
only two. Only two.
Which ticked me off because it ended on a cliffhanger, which I was interested in seeing a season 3
They
of.
do kind of rectify that cliffhanger in the 3rd season of Jessica Jones. Just so you know,
Really?
they
Okay.
do a little bit, not a lot, but you're given a little bit of closure in that.
Okay. Yeah.
I
Uh,
know. It's underwhelming, but it's something to
at,
look
le-
forward to.
at least they're talking about. I don't know if it's going to happen, but I keep hearing the actor who played Daredevil is going to show up in the next Spider-Man film,
Charlie
possibly as
Cox.
Peter Parker's lawyer.
They're basing that off of the goddamn animated series. All right, I know exactly where they're getting that from.
In which Peter Parker has money left to him by Tony Stark, so he probably will have lawyers, so he doesn't need a free one in Matt Murdock.
Yeah. Plus, the Kingpin's not going to be involved or anything. It's one of those things. You know what I would like to see from Spider-Man 3, since we're jumping around?
Mm-hmm.
I want to see Doc Ock in Spider-Man 3.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing. Now, as far as the villains that we've gotten Vulture, we've gotten Mysterio, we've gotten a lot of science-based villains, technological-based villains. I'd say for the third one, you get maybe a disgruntled professor who has not necessarily had the best run of luck and becomes like a criminal underlord while everyone was blipped out of existence and Tony was gone, whether self-exiled or died. And I want to see Doc Ock rise. I don't want another Norman Osborn businessman elitist. I want a scientist who's gone through some fucked up shit while everything's been gone and everything's been turned upside down. And I want to see another Doc Ock Spider-Man fight. Because let's face it, as far as the previous Spider-Mans are concerned, Spider-Man 2 without Alfred Molina was probably the best.
I don't know. I kind of want. I haven't been thinking about villains. What I want to see is a live action Spider-Verse deal where you somehow bring back Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire as other versions of Spider-Man.
Well, that's kind of what I want to see. Funnier if there was like another Doc Ock and all of a sudden Tobey Maguire's coming in. It's like, wow, you're worse than mine. You know, it's like just kind of play into it in that sense.
I don't know. It's something I gotta give some thought to. I'm not sure what I want out of the next Spider-Man. I felt lukewarm over the last two of them. Also, I don't want any of them to say home in the title anymore. No more Homecoming. No more Far Away from Home. Unless this one's called Stay at Home and it's just Spider-Man hiding from the coronavirus.
Honestly, I thought it was going to be called Homeless since he's on the run.
Oh God, no! Don't use the title Home anymore. I've hated the last few titles.
No, but this is on my mind because the Nostalgia Critic, he did his whole Spider Month.
Actually, I take it back. I watched his last review, but you know what? I got some opinions there, but I'll leave that for another time. I think we got to start wrapping it up.
Oh yeah, what time is it?
God.
All right.
It's beer o'clock.
Yes. Yeah, it's time to start the daily tradition of having alcohol in my system because of everything that's going on.
All right. So to wrap things up, ladies and gentlemen, we will be talking about WrestleMania 36 night 2 next week. They're calling it part 2. I'm calling it night 2 because I think night 2 sounds better. But we'll talk about any other subject that pops up during the next week. But if any ladies and gentlemen would like to offer any suggestions, again, go on Twitter, use the hashtag JTBigO, no spaces, and just leave some thoughts for us, and we'll explore them. Any final thoughts there, Big O?
It's nice that I'm referred to as such. Yes. Well, I mean, obviously, like you said, if anyone wants to go ahead, touch on anything, primarily in the entertainment field, we should preface that so this way we stay away from any of the politics and news and drama and all that other stuff. But anything movie, television, theater, music, video games, comic books, anything within our wheelhouse. If you want to go ahead and just venture the question, we will certainly go ahead, denote the time to it. Who knows, maybe next episode, JT will finally enact his What You're Not Watching on Netflix series that he's talked about.
Eventually, they've actually done a lot better of promoting stuff recently, especially with their top 10. So it feels like they really do get stuff out now. And
yes, they've gotten better, and certainly Hulu has always had good promotions for its stuff. Amazon Prime, maybe not as much, with the exception of like Hunters recently.
And I feel like they finally realized what a hit Altered Carbon was, because that was my biggest argument, was they made this really great show and then it was just like something you had to find. But now they not only came out with another season with some name actors, they also created a cartoon series, which eventually I'm going to watch, and I'll talk about that at some point as well.
Which, of course, Amazon Prime has also started up its own your mind in the body of a computer sort of mentality with Upload, which is going to view a little bit more comedically. It's going to probably feel more like Altered Carbon mixed with The Good Place, by the looks of it.
Well, I guess
so. If anything, I'm going to see if I can watch that and see if I can have a review of that or Hunters, because I really want to watch Hunters because it's Pacino. I want to see Pacino in something where there's like people being shot. That's not going to take 3 hours out of my life with a bunch of dialogue.
And his name's not Jimmy Hoffa.
Yes.
So yeah, there's definitely some stuff for us to check out and some ideas we probably already have. But again, if you have any suggestions, feel free to throw them out at us. I am, as always, JT Cool, JT McGuire, JT, whatever other names I've used in the past, Video Geek JT.
JT, y'all.
You can you can find me at videogeekjt.com, and Ryan Big O'Regan over here, you can catch him as well. And I love it. One thing I love about having a computer in front of me, I can put all the information in front of me so I don't forget stuff. You can catch Ryan online, Twitter and Instagram. He is at Real Ordeal. That is REELORDEAL. Actually, and that is also you for Facebook as well for Real Ordeal Entertainment, because I see in the address bar it does say Real Ordeal. I don't know why I'm flowing over that.
You get used to it after a while. I mean, mind you, it originally just stemmed from Ryan O Entertainment, and I'm like, well, let me see if I can be creative. And I take the spirit of Kevin Smith with me every time I say Real Ordeal, just like he would say View Askew.
I don't know. My brain is fried. That's what. Anyway.
That's a good thing. That means we've exhausted everything.
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you again for joining us. Catch us again next week. Same JT Big O time, same JT Big O channels. With that said, I bid you all adieu. Bye-bye.